do this quick, probably 20 minutes as usual. Not really much has changed. I've been bearish. Last thing I really messed with a while ago. I could have messed with more and just haven't really cared recently. But we had what the fund position from I think we entered. I think it was on this day. It was at why does it look so much more granular here now on the left? I don't think I've ever traded in a smaller domination than like $1 and a cent. Anyway, 104, and then we got out at 110. I don't remember what day. Anyway, it was all the way back here. So I haven't messed with it since. Things that look bearish. I just kind of wanted to show the last time I kind of was like doing any of this stuff or looking at it. A couple things we can see, just kind of go over real quick. Apple, we haven't really been able to pass this 155.50. No real big surprise here. Not a huge surprise that we bounced here, but we didn't have anything really crazy. I don't think Apple looks horrible per se. It reminds me a little bit of Microsoft, where there is a decent amount of resistance underneath, and in my opinion, we're going to have to get through a decent amount here. How does this translate? Sometimes, the whole broader market, Apple's a really good thing to look at. Not always, but it can give a pretty decent idea. So some of the other ones, the dollar, where do we leave off? We left off somewhere around here. I think it was somewhere here, but we finally got our day that started above 103.6. We come down for support, and then we push up. We do push up into here. It's a little bit tragic, but this is just one thing to see. I don't think for the dollar to really roar up, we're going to have to get something pretty nice above 105.4 again. And if we want something bad, I really think we're going to have to fall under this 102.3 level. It could just be up here at 102.6 instead of 102.3. But because if we adjust this, it'll be up here. But I do like how much has happened around here. So I think this whole area is fairly strong. And if we do push down there, then maybe we head down somewhere around here. I don't want to go in the dollar too much because I don't think it's super important. So like the dollar is important for right here. We had the day start above 103.6, and I think a lot of this has really been the VIX, the dollar, but also really the VIX. So just to kind of go back to the VIX real quick, let's just go through this. We have our trend that started 2019, I believe. Yeah, because obviously, well, I mean, technically we could say something from here, but really this is from 2017, 2019, and then boom, boom, boom. So we can see that there on the zoomed out. You can see down here, I got to add, I don't feel like paying. Like, I don't see a reason to pay. So I mean, I got a coin, so I could just get it for free or whatever. But I don't. Doesn't I thought it used to show how many coins you had here. There we go. I got like 6,700, but um, I just don't feel like paying. There's literally zero need for me to do that right now. But anyway, so we can see here on the week time frame. If you look at the day time frame, what have we been waiting for on the week time frame here to be super bullish? We've been waiting for a week to start under this trend line. We've never had that before in the history of it, or from the last, I guess, 3 years since it formed in 2019. Or I guess 2.5 technically, because I think it was mid late 2019. Anyway, see this, come back down close, we come back down close, pop up, pop up. Not a huge surprise. So we come down close, we pop up. Well, where do we get wrecked down from? It's not really doomsday for the VIX here, but boom, we pop all the way down. Where do we come down to? We come back down to the line again, and then we just kind of burst back up. A lot of the things that were going on with the Fed and saying inflation isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. They're going to have to fight it harder. Certainly that doesn't help as well. But just from a technical perspective, ignoring everything else that's kind of going on besides technicals, we could see a reason to be sketched out here to worried. So I think this looks pretty nice depending on where it starts next week. A day above here makes this look pretty nice since we're looking at, if we look at it from this perspective, we start here. So this is our range. And then we start here, which is nice. I'm sorry, we end here. And then if we start here, this is our range right here. We start here. So I can see why it pushed up. To me, it's not incredibly surprising. But for anything extended, I would like to see the VIX start above 2570 next week. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. And we could see a lot of stuff get sold down pretty heavily in the coming weeks if we can find something like that. So I mean, if we really just look at this from more of a horizontal perspective and ignore the trend, we can just see that we're getting we're just getting higher base lows anyway. Um, so maybe we see a pop up like we did here, here, and that would bring us easily to 38, possibly all the way to 55. So that's something to still look out for. The story of the SPY pretty much is just, but for me anyway, has been, this was really nice. This was sketchy. I thought we had a decent chance to go down. This was obvious that obvious that there was a really good chance of pushing up when we had this reversal. We end under, start above. And then when we come under, it's just pretty obvious that we can see this bearish candle right here. We're looking for something that starts above, preferably more specifically something that starts above and comes down to the support. Ugly, ugly candle. And then we start here, which makes it even worse. I think this candle is fine to run into as long as the next day doesn't start pretty much right where it left off. Like if the next day started essentially somewhere right here, I think it would have a decent chance, at least in the day, to come up before it would move down. But I wouldn't treat this as like a super. I don't think this candle looking bearish is enough to say that we're going to go down. But I think when we start here, it's pretty obvious. I don't remember what you call this. It's like a star or whatever, or something, something. But I mean, there's like a specific formation where you usually see this, and it usually doesn't end up well. Anyway, if we just look back here, right, we got nice support, push up. We're under it, looking for nice support here, don't find it, and then right, we start here and push up. So that's just kind of been the story of the SPY so far. It looks like it has some support coming down. We will see what happens, but I mean, it doesn't mean it has to bounce here. And if we do find ourselves under 378, that will be quite concerning. Bitcoin, name of the game. We almost came all the way up. We almost hit the target up at 25. We almost hit the target up here at 25. What was it at the point? 25,650 pretty much. We didn't, and so we started heading back down. We could kind of see with the market things were looking sketchy. We also have that crypto bank thing, SVB or whatever, that was really sketchy as well, which I think drove a lot of this. But at the end of the day, I think technicals are really important, and all that stuff really did was just push us back into these areas. But interestingly enough, if we go here, it's not horrible. Like if we go here, it does look like there's a chance. I will admit, this does look like there's a chance. It seems incredibly difficult, um, but I could see something like this having a chance, at least in the sense of like shoulder head, and then like maybe a shoulder here before it comes back down. So I don't think this was as that needed to be as bearish as what it was. We didn't have any other shoulder here. It pretty much just came right back down. So we'll see what happens in that regard. I mean, we could always look at this in like another perspective anyway. It's probably a different head and shoulder in the longer term. But it just doesn't look good where it is right now. And we're under this 20,850. I don't like this whatsoever at all. We'll see if we bounce here at 18,000. Excuse me, pretty much at 19,000. We'll see if we bounce there. I could see why. We do have an average here. I could kind of see why with the average. We do have a nice base here. I don't trust this though personally. And doing this makes this even sketchier. So we could bounce here. I'd be quite a bit worried if we fell under. Kind of example of what I am talking about is we could look at something like, I think Doge is probably one of the easiest examples for that, where it just kind of cascades under and under and under and under these things. So we can see a little bit of sketchiness here, but what we have recently, weak, we push into this, start in, get this consolidation, then it pushes down, then we get caught under consolidation, a bad spot, pushes down, starts under. So we'll see if this pushes under again, but this is the same kind of thing that worries me, is that you don't necessarily, if we look at it from this perspective, I mean, we could bounce here. This makes it look really ugly, but we could bounce here. But when it does this and comes under, I mean, especially with consolidation above, that's almost as it's just about as bad as it gets. So just because there's a line of support, like a trend line for me, doesn't mean I think it's gonna bounce per se. It's just an average, right? And if you're above it, you want to bounce on it. And you don't want to be above that average or under that average, or at least you don't want to be consolidating under it. Technically, you don't want to consolidate above it. You want to consolidate on it, right? So, and then, I mean, I guess since I'm looking at Doge anyway, we can see there's been some sketchy stuff that this thing's done. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Of course, we've been under the 200 smooth here, but this is like yikes, 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 so we'll see what happens with it. I think it could drop another 25%. Just to kind of go over Doge real quick, I think there's a high chance Doge makes a move down towards 4.76 cents, more or less. What else has been somewhat interesting? I guess Mara's been getting pushed down real quick. It's under this. I think it was 630. No, it was 6. So it's fallen under that. So this is pretty concerning for Mara. We'll kind of just have to see what happens with that. Amazon's at 90, which is pretty concerning. I thought 92 was around the low, but I guess we did pop down here March 2nd. So same thing as some of the other ones. We have this here. We could bounce with this right here. It really worries me. Especially like it just worries me in general. I don't like this. We could say this is the shoulder. We could say like this is the shoulder. Regardless, this looks really weak and this is under. So long story short, I could see a high possibility of this actually just falling through and then trying to do something down here possibly, or falling through and maybe even falling through here. Possibly. I don't want to say it's going to do that, but we'll see. I mean, so far it's been pretty straightforward. We had with the week time frames, I believe, on here. We completed the range incredibly quickly within 1 week. So that was, that was that. And then we started under, pushed up, failed. So now we're just pushing down. Um, People like gold. I haven't really been paying attention recently to gold. We couldn't get above. Like I've been saying here, I think the best place to take it was in this range, as opposed to here. We didn't even see anything start above here on the week time frame, so this isn't really too surprising that it failed to push up through this. Yeah, I don't really think there's too much more to say. I mean, it sure for sure could push up. I just look at the dollar to try to see what goes on with that. And you could refer to the beginning what I said with the dollar. Excuse me. Excuse me. If you want to see where I think the dollar was strong, where it looks weak, where it could fall through. Um, no real. This is ugly, but no real. What do you call it? No real rejection. Now this is ugly, and this isn't too surprising why this pushed down. But from like a weak time frame perspective, all here, it doesn't. The movement itself is horrible, but the price action from a candle perspective isn't. It's bad, but there's still hope. It doesn't look like a lot of hope though. I'll put it that way. It doesn't look like there's a lot of hope. Nifty, we're still in between. I wouldn't be worried. If we end somewhere like right under, I would be a lot more worried. Something like this, we push pretty far down, so there's always a chance that it pushes back up, and we can see a nice re-entry position on this candle in July. Blackstone looks like it's down 100 something, right? Yeah, at least down 150 almost. This isn't really too surprising. Um, Anything else that's interesting? DraftKings has been holding up pretty well, I believe. I think GME looks like it could possibly like so GME we can just see from right here. I don't really want something to start under. We'll see if this actually holds with everything else being pretty sketchy. We will see. Something interesting to note is this is pretty ugly, and this is a bad place to start, I believe anyway, from a technical perspective. But if we also remember, this is the first month, and then the first week of the month is the second week. January was just straight up. But everything else going on right now, I mean, if we start on the bottom side of this, I don't remember. I think it's like 9 or something, or so 9.56 could be the next place that we come down to at least. So that'll be kind of something to look for. But yeah, GME looks horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Not like the worst thing, but the potential for it to be horrible is very, very, very high. Um, Pain here with Meta. It doesn't look horrible. It looks like it could hold, but um, I wouldn't be messing with it whatsoever at all. It's certainly not a time to buy anything, in my opinion, where stuff currently is. We'll have to see if stuff starts above these averages on Monday, but so far it's been pretty ugly. Microsoft, I feel a little bit like Apple in the sense that we have something down here, almost a little bit better than Apple, even though the drop's not that bad. Yeah, I actually kind of like prefer this to Apple. But anyway, the name of the game for this is the great. We're looking for something to come down and hit here. We never do, and then we get caught under. Let me just move this out of the way. But the point is that we're looking for something nice. So I actually like this a lot. I didn't like this here. So if let's say if I was trading this, I would have entered here. I would have gotten out probably somewhere around here because this is actually like incredibly sketchy. Um, for this to like start, for this to start here, end here, and then start here the next day, that's incredibly sketchy. So I'd be looking most likely to get out um, anywhere up here. And if I didn't, at the latest, I would have gotten out here. So I would have missed all of this right here. I 100% would have missed this, but I would have waited for this to come back above and then come back down. I'm not going to mess with this on what I consider like a breakout without proper support. So anyway, we come under and we can see the story here. It's been pretty straightforward. Not exactly like the S&P, but some similar things to it where it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice here, and then it just falls under. We're looking for support, and then we don't. It comes back above. We're looking for support here. We don't get it, and then we just find ourselves under, finding resistance on the average. So I don't think there's really anything to say about Nvidia. I think it's still in a pretty decent spot considering it supports at 221. Um, it is pretty sketchy. It's hard to say if it'll just fall through, but I think Nvidia looks pretty fine until we see a week that starts under 204. So until then, I wouldn't be worried about it. Or 203 point like 8. Um, I guess 204 is fine. Mm, maybe something with Tesla we can find. I don't think there's been anything super special with Tesla. It's just kind of been like Tesla's been one of those. I haven't liked a lot of stuff. It's one of those ones that was like mixed signals when everything else looked really bad. So I was always kind of surprised with how well it was holding up. Um, but I guess like anyway, this is the range. We're essentially looking between 177 and 160 right now. I would be very concerned. We could bounce down here at 153, but my biggest concern is this being another range and this being like a really strong range. So we're going from a medium size to a small to a very large, and I'm not really a big fan of that whatsoever at all. And then we're also under here, like assuming we do get to this level, and then we're going to be in the same spot as this. So I just think there's a pretty high chance it could push down if we do get into this 160 and between 153 and 160 range. Though I'd be looking for some pressure under that 153 to really expect it to drop if it is going to drop. If we look at a longer term, it should just look like a failed breakout above here. So it just kind of is what it is ever since here. Looked like it had a chance. Boom, we end here. We start here. Um, if I was going to trade this on the week for some reason, let me see. Do we have anything on the day here? So there's like nothing good. From a day perspective, this looks like a good entry point. To be honest, if I was like trading this, I would have gotten in here. I either would have gotten out here. Most likely, I would have just exited at the start of the day here. I may have gotten back in here with a small portion, maybe, maybe, and I would have just exited on this day when we push back up into it. I wouldn't have messed with a lot of this, and the reason I say that is just a lot of it's like really. It was really weird because a lot of the market looked bad, but Tesla's still holding up. And then the market really went to crap. Tesla crapped to bed. Um, but anyway, I just kind of want to throw that out there in the sense of not all this stuff is super straightforward for me. Some of them's been pretty weird. Nothing's changed with the bearish appearance though of it. A little bit worried for the Australian dollar to the U.S. dollar. I remember calling it back here when someone was asking about it. Right, we start under on the week time frames, and we eventually just push down. You could also see a strong dollar for this. And my bigger concern is the weeks now pushed us into the day time frame, which could push us even lower. So I think I'm going to end it here. I'll probably leave this on. I don't know. I could just leave it on Bitcoin. We kind of go through everything. I feel like we could just leave this on Bitcoin for this. Um, I think that's what we started out with. So we'll just end that. At the end of the day, I think Bitcoin's still going down. Um, really, I went over it already. I think there's a high chance, just like we've seen with a lot of these, that we're going to drop under this average that's coming up. even on a lot of the stocks. I think we'll find ourselves underneath it and push down even farther. I'd be more likely to inclined to say we're going to bounce here on Bitcoin. This looks like an amazing spot to bounce. Anyway, take care, y'all. Peace.